There's a good chance this is one of the very first videos you are watching within this entire program. Now, this is one of the most, if not the most important video because it's the concept that you should go back to all of the time. This is the thing that I believe has differentiated the way that I have personally run ads for a decade now versus a lot of people that have fallen down not running ads properly. This is also the thing that most brands, I believe, get wrong all of the time. And this is where most arguments, specifically around performance, are either won or lost. So let me take you through this. I'm just going to share what's physically on my screen here. I'm going to read a little bit of it verbatim, and then I'm going to explain what the heck I'm even talking about. And I think there's a couple words in here that I've made up on my own. So let's go into it. So the most important thing that everyone really needs to understand is that everything we do is focused on minimizing wasted ad spend. This is number one at the top. One of the biggest issues I see are people are 10 or 20 or 30% away from their goal, and they're spending 20% on completely wasted platforms, placements, landing pages, creatives, testing, right? We've seen this so much. This is why when brands come on to work with us at the Moonlighters, one of the things we're able to get right off the bat is an improvement around 25% right away without even doing anything fancy at all. So, minimizing wasted ad spend is super, super important. The next part of this is we want to always create systems and structures that are both AI friendly and human friendly. If we're too manual, then we eventually hit that minus X% week, which eliminates all of those gains from the 2 to 3 to 4 to 5% that we got over the last months. I'll explain what I mean by this a little bit more, but we need to strike the right balance between being manual and allowing the algorithm to work. So, the first concept that we need to understand is the problem of rare catastrophic events, which I call black swans. So, the thing is, in our lives, this you can see this mostly in like financial systems. It's the easiest way to understand this. Rare events are often underestimated, and when they hit really, really hard. A fantastic example of this is a market crash, unfortunately. In a market crash, your market's going up, your market's staying steady, maybe it's dipping a little bit, going up and down, it's floating. But then you have a dip in your market that you will not make back on your 10 or 11% turns or returns for a very, very long time, right? If the market crashes by 50%, or if anything crashes by 50%, the delta in loss of a minus 50% day where you're spending or you're losing is so hard to make up for. Because in many cases, let's say you have a day, a better example, let's say you have a day where your profit of your business is minus $1,000 or minus $10,000. It is much harder to make up that delta when you're only profiting per day, say $100. It's going to take 10 full days to make up for one day lost. So we need to avoid these black swan events at all costs. Now, as human beings, we are wired to ignore outliers. We are wired to look at the averages. We are wired to look at what happens most of the time. But then when we go to look at our bank accounts, we don't actually understand why, if I thought on average I was getting a 3x return on ad spend or 4x return on ad spend, why does my bank account not relate that? Why does the business Shopify numbers not actually show this? And in many cases, it's because you had these bad days that take up huge chunks of negatives. The reality, as I kind of wrote down here, is black swan events, they shape the outcome, they shape the history. We have to design for worst case, not average case. If we design for average case, this is easy. This is cake. No one's buying this program. No one's watching videos. This is easy money. We have to design for worst case because that's where brands get crushed. Now, this black swan concept really means, well, how do we solve this? What do we do? We build for what I call anti-fragility. I don't even know if this is a real word. I just call it this. Let's just go with that. So anti-fragility, from my perspective, is the concept that some systems benefit from volatility, stress, and randomness, and we need to make sure our systems are built for this. So let me say this in a different way. as I wrote down here. A fragile system breaks under stress. We know that. A robust system resists stress. Now, most people would say, obviously, we don't want a fragile system. That's no doubt. Most people want to say, I want a very robust system. What you really want is an anti-fragile system that benefits from randomness, so that when randomness, whether good or bad, you are taking advantage of gains. The best way to put this is, just like there are black swan events, there are also, I don't know the opposite, but there are also hero events. So a black swan event's going to tank, a hero event's going to surge. We need to make sure that we are in position on both ends, and that's where an anti-fragile system comes into place. So manual optimization is often fragile. It breaks and it fails badly sometimes. For example, if you are never targeting any reels and suddenly the algorithm changes like it did this year, and now your entire ad strategy is built on static creatives, which now have a reduction of 40% in viewability. That's going to shake you up really hard. Manual optimization is important sometimes, but automated systems with rules that favor randomness are anti-fragile. Now, throughout this, especially in the advanced operations section of this, we're going to be going through how to build anti-fragile systems. I'll mention this concept from time to time, but just every time you're watching one of these videos, just go back and think, is this something that is going to be benefited from randomness? If I sell beach towels, if it's a hotter day than normal, something I can't control, am I in the position to actually increase or decrease my ad spend? So take these seriously. I know philosophical stuff is not always what people come to me for. But if you don't follow concepts like this, then when you're building systems on your own, because even though I try to give you the best blueprint possible here, you're still going to go and have to make decisions on your own as a business owner. In those situations, fall back on this concept and just think, does this favor randomness? If so, it's a good thing. Does it not favor randomness? Is it too rigid? If so, then it might be a bad thing. So many examples of this. One that just comes to mind is if you're one of those businesses that runs a strategy that pauses ads down when they don't hit a certain add to cart, which is a strategy that we talk about with big red flags. That when certain add to carts are not hit, or in many cases when creatives get too high of cost per clicks, that would potentially not favor you in a system of randomness if the conversion rate is higher, right? So there's 100 ways to break this down. And I hope this concept sticks with you in the back of your head, not just for this program, but truly like throughout your media buying and business experience.